The audio is coming from, maybe if you play a video, it'll come through like last time.
Okay.
All right. What?
Which keyboard? That keyboard.
Yeah, either of these. I think I don't know why, but they got two keyboards hooked up. So either one should work. But yeah, we'll start the meeting, and I got cinnamon rolls over there if anybody wants some. If you want to warm, are they good? Got them from Costco, I think, so they're maybe pretty good.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but go ahead, take it away, Greg.
everybody can have that virtual cinnamon roll in the Zoom universe.
We're trying to promote our meetings.
All right. Oh, well, thanks for coming, and everybody that's on Zoom. Today's MUFON meeting. MUFON's all about the scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. As the world's oldest and largest UFO phenomena investigative body, we aim to be the inquisitive mind seeking answers to the most ancient question: are we alone in the universe? Just a cartoon for you. This was off a birthday card my sister sent me. Dr. Allen, or Dr. Robert Wood recently passed away, and said Dr. Wood was a man of extraordinary intellect, integrity, and curiosity, whose contributions to aerospace engineering and UFO research have left an indelible mark on both scientific and ufological communities. That was by Dave McDonald. And I had the privilege of sitting with Dr. Wood one time at a MUFON symposium at the banquet and talked to him for quite a while. So that was an interesting night. At this last seminar, I threw this in. Rob and Sue Switek stepped out of the hotel to see a bewildering sight on Thursday. It was a pulse contrail of some kind, and when the furthest puff would fade, another one on the far left would replace it. In this way, the whole formation moved to left very rapidly, and the whole phenomena lasted only about 7 seconds and was gone. So I thought it was kind of interesting that this happened during the actual MUFON symposium down in Texas there. The Nebraska team is made up of Kyle Finley, he's a state director and field investigator. Fred Ziwi is assistant state director, and he's the ERT representative. Tamara Steyer's chief investigator. John Barta, field investigator. Maxwell Hobbs, field investigator trainee. And you got Dave Paris and Dr. Jack Kasher are both consultants. On the Iowa team, we've got myself, Greg Anderson, I'm state director. We've got Dave Kreider, he's chief investigator. Larry Moore, field investigator. Beverly Moore, field investigator. Keen Tiedemann, field investigator. Marty Burroughs, field investigator. And Josh Emery is a field investigator trainee. Here's some stats from January through this month. A number of cases that we've got. Iowa's got 21 cases so far, and Nebraska got 15. And kind of a graphical representation of that. Again, here's kind of comparing to previous years. We're kind of low here, so we've got to get up there. There haven't been a lot of cases lately. Here's the attendance for our meetings that we've had over the last couple of years. And these are some stats that MUFON puts out on cases. Iowa's at 100%, and Nebraska dropped down to 43rd. They're like at 87%. I don't know what went wrong there, but somehow a case got missed or didn't get finished in time. Yeah. Dave McDonald, a MUFON, he's talked about the Stringfield file. He says, well, here we are going from the dog days of summer to the beginning of fall. The leaves are turning and the weather is changing. Here it says we are just about ready to upload our entire collection of the Stringfield files into Project Aquarius. This is one of the most incredible collections of UFO history ever released. Over 65 volumes of the daily activities of Leonard Stringfield, the godfather of modern ufology. Some of the material is so in-depth and highly sensitive that it forced us to redact some of the names of people discussed because a number of them are still living and could be subject to retribution for discussing the secrets they held. So be sure to watch for news at the release. It will be a part of the Project Aquarius, which currently holds over 1 terabyte of data, evidence, articles, documents, affidavits, photos, etc. And case presentation here. This case was a case that I handled. It was happened on September 12th of this year, 5:30 in the morning in Waterloo, outside of Waterloo, Iowa. The short description was he was standing on a ramp and he seen a white glow with something showing through floating. Here's kind of a representation of where the witness was at when he saw the object. He was heading west on Highway 20, got off on the off ramp to go south on 380 and stopped there. And this is a picture that he took and the light that he shows on the thing. And essentially this that he stopped on the rest area and he got out and took a picture. And he said he was standing on the off-ramp around Waterloo, Iowa at 5:30 in the morning, seeing a white glow, fluorescent white light, and the object is center of it floating slowly in the air. The night was crystal clear. You could see a star and not a cloud in the sky. And you have that white glow had obvious clouds around it and something in the middle. And then I interviewed the witness. He said he verified that the location being the off-ramp from and going west, and he stopped to take a break. He noticed all that. The light was almost looked like a mini moon surrounded by a cloud. It was moving slowly to the north. He watched it for a few minutes, then got his phone and took a picture first. He thought it may be Starlink, but he had seen that before. Said it was not high in the sky. And I found that the witness was rather forthcoming and with a keen interest in what he had seen. And my investigation did not turn up anything in the area that could be associated with what he saw and took the picture of. My analysis of the EXIF or metadata on the photograph was inconclusive as the data was sparse. It did not have any date and times. I found this to be odd as the picture was supposedly downloaded to the CMS directly from the witness's phone. Something I'm going to have to check with MUFON about and see if there's something to go on. So I essentially called this an unknown other. The next case was Larry Moore's case. This happened in Carlisle, Iowa on August 20th of 2022. Light being. And it said the witness and her sister were on the front porch of the witness's home at approximately 9:30 p.m. The witness was looking through her cell phone, looking for anything that might be unusual when she noticed an unusual light on her screen from the neighbor's house across the street. Said, me and my twin sister were sitting on the front porch around 9:30. I was looking through my cell phone at the sky for anything out of the ordinary. I saw through my phone a light being that was across the street of my neighbor's house, and I took a picture. You can see this upper, here's an enlargement of what she saw in her phone as she was scanning with her phone. And so, then Larry met with the witness on September 8th and her sister at a local coffee shop. The witness, as well as her sister, reiterated the event on August 20th, and the witness recounted seeing a strange light while looking across the street at that neighbor's house. That was only visible on the phone screen, and noted that when moving the phone to the side, Nothing was visible to the naked eye. The witness was aware of that many times objects that were not visible to the naked eye are sometimes picked up by cameras. And the witness thought that maybe this could be a light being of some sort. The witness collaborated this point. When asked about the similar events in the past, she recalled seeing a white orb briefly passing in front of the car as she and her sister were driving one evening. This occurred approximately 4 to 5 years ago and was only observed for 2 to 3 seconds. At this point, I suggested we go to the porch and take a look at the immediate area. I noticed that there were a couple of street lights as well as a light next to that door of the neighbor's house. At this point, I suggested that this was likely a lens flare and that this sometimes happens in these circumstances. The witness was very understanding and concluded that that was the explanation. I must note that this was a clear evening and the stars were visible. So his conclusion was that it was a lens flare, and you can understand why she didn't notice it at first and stuff. And he identified it as an IFO. And now we got Dave's case. Dave, you want to?
Yeah, you want to go ahead and put up that first image already?
Oops. The video or the?
No, the image. No.
That's what I got right there.
Well, remember I said that you should put that one right at the very beginning. Do you have that? It's the house, his house.
Yeah. Yeah, I had it. I don't have it now. Sorry, Dave.
Okay. All right. Well, just hold on with the video then. Oh. Yeah, that's another case there. I don't know whose case that is. That's my later case.
Okay.
Yeah, put up this is the case number 138378 with the orbs.
Yeah. Huh. Wait. Oh, right, here we go. Sorry about that. I had the wrong case.
Okay. Good. Well enough. This turned out to be a really interesting case, which I didn't suspect at first. A rural Rhinebeck, Iowa witness viewed the video from a security camera dated on June 22nd of 2021 at 1:14 in the morning and noticed a glowing object or orb moving erratically. The security camera was viewing from his back door pointing in a southeast heading. And there you can see he's kind of looking out of his doorway there, and you can see the where he was looking from. So now you can play that video now. There should be a video before that. Oh yeah, that's it. That's it. Sorry, Greg. Yep. You got it. So Greg and I suspected that the object he saw might be a bug or spider on a web that was buffeted by a breeze. And the witness was quite agreeable to that possibility, but conditions at that time were very calm with 0 wind velocity. He said that when enlarged, he did not see any segmentation such as body parts or legs. He also thought it's strange that near the end of the video, it moved extremely fast out of frame. And I had to agree with that point of view. So you can see the object here in front of the pillar. And Greg, you can put the next one up. And this was captured by Greg, actually. And it was very hard to get these captures because this object moves so fast. You had to have a really quick trigger finger to capture it. The witness then sent a second video recorded on a security camera dated in January 1st of this year.
Yeah.
And this was in the dead of winter, so it isn't likely it was an insect. He believed that it was the same object that came back. Next video.
Actually, Dave, I think that yeah, I think that the video we showed before was the same one, you know. But yeah, you can see that this one, there's snow on the ground. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, you can show that next still shot, Greg. Yeah. So I asked the witness, I wanted to have him measure the width of that pillar. And circled there, you can see the still shot right in front of the pillar. It's really hard to see. But I did a size comparison, and if that orb was right at the pillar, it would have been about 7 inches in size. Of course, if it was closer to the camera than we think, it could have been smaller. But because of the reflectivity of both the pillar and the orb, I'm thinking that it was right up very close to that pillar. So Greg, you want to do the next still shot? Okay, and there it is, just a split second later as it speeds off. I really couldn't think of any conventional explanation. Maybe someone here has some ideas. So I put this down as unknown other. Any questions or comments on that?
Oops, let's go back up to that one. Did you have that
Yeah,
one?
that's my next case. Yeah. So anyway, on September 12th, a rural Chickasaw County, Iowa witness was driving due east at about 5:30 a.m., just about 1/2 mile from his home, when he noticed a star-like bright orange-yellow light in the dark sky to the east-northeast. The witness obtained his video evidence from his dash cam and submitted it in the CMS report. And Greg, did you get a video then of that?
Yeah. I shortened it up. It was too long before, so it's
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I guess the object is on the left there. He said it was sort of reddish orange. And yeah. And did you by chance get the next still, Greg?
Did I do the what?
There was one more still shot after that.
Yeah, well, I have that. I don't
Yeah,
have a
or
still
not,
shot,
just
but
my drawing. Yeah, yeah, that's it. So anyway, he was going straight east from Iona, or just uh, half a mile outside of town, and the object was his the witness's line of sight was at 77 degrees, and it turned out that the planet Mercury was at 77 degrees azimuth and low on the horizon. Which Venus is, I'm sorry, did I say Venus? Mercury. And Mercury is always low on the horizon because it's an inner planet, and so we never see it high in the sky. And so I'm thinking, since the witness's line of sight was 77 degrees and Mercury was at 77 degrees azimuth, that's probably what he saw. So I signed this case of disposition of IFO, natural phenomenon. Any questions on that?
no. All right. Let's go on. Let's see. Fred, did you want to come up here and do?
Yeah. I've done the last two cases then?
Yeah, your
Right.
Hadar case first. And,
All right, thanks.
mhm.
Spend too much time on this one. This is deemed a what did I say? I think it is insufficient evidence because the witness we always do like call them up like or trying to get a contact them at least 3 times, email, and text. And she never responded, though her account was on July 27th, 2024, approximately at 10 p.m. And as you can see, she was just north of Norfolk, in a little town called Hadar, Hadar, Hadar. Hader?
Yeah.
Hader? I like Hadar better.
I used to live in Norfolk till I was 11. It's right outside of Norfolk.
Yeah, just like about 5 miles north of town. Yeah. And she gave it an address, and the address that she had was one in Norfolk and not in Hadar. So I was trying to figure out where was she? She was in Hadar or she was in Norfolk when she saw this. And her account is I only got 20 seconds of it on video, and I thought it was following, and I was following its movement, but I wasn't. Was flying all over the different directions, up and down, back and forth, and suddenly there were 2 of them, and they were like dancing around each other, and one disappeared. This isn't the first time I've gotten video of basically the same thing, so I'm trying to find the other video as it is longer. So you got these lights are bouncing up and down, right, left, so I'm thinking they're more or less orbs that she's looking at, more so than some other larger craft of some sort. So I don't know if did you put the video on this? Oh, here it is. Might even be the moon. I have no idea. And there's the object that was going up. I don't know if this is even it.
Looks like a moon.
Well, that is, again, it could be a. So I also looked up, on doing my scientific investigations that MUFON always wants us to do. I looked up flight radar, and then there was one little aircraft that was flying around down around Norfolk, and it was flying right around. It's like a little Cessna flying around, So I didn't think it was that. It was to the south of her if she was in Peter. So, and then then eventually, I looked up on, I thought, well, maybe it's could be an ISS. This could be a very, it's not moving around. You can't really tell where she's moving. There's nothing in the background to tell you where it's going. Was a, there was a, there was a, there was an ISS sighting. She put down 10 o'clock PM approximately. So I don't know if that's plus or minus 5 minutes, but there was an ISS back in around 9:30 to 9:40. So it flew over from the northwest, flew across to the northeast, and then down to the east southeast.
So it went right over that area?
Yes. So, but that was like 20, 25 minutes earlier. So I don't know her approximate time since I wasn't able to talk to her. I said, do you know the exact time or not? So that could have been the ISS that flying over. You and I saw in your backyard doing sky watching. We saw the ISS fly over. It's very bright. It's very brilliant. So.
But that was kind of
Yeah.
flashing.
Yeah, I was flashing. Could be like, dark, and could be like, yeah, it does flash. But of course it's
We've seen the ISS several
Yeah.
times. I don't remember ever seeing it
Flash.
flashing.
well, you got camera and everything,
Yeah,
everything
that's
else.
true.
So you can always add those little variables to it. That why it's flashing.
Fred,
And the ISS was a magnitude of a minus 3.2, so it's extremely bright. So that's beyond, and then the moon is like minus 20 up in that range. So -3 is really good. Anything about in the minus range on magnitude is very bright in the sky. So I'm not going to spend too much more time on this. She didn't call, didn't tell me diddly squat.
Yeah.
I like that terminology. So I didn't
Yeah.
put a whole lot of more effort into this case, but could have been the ISS, could be orbs flying around. I have no idea. She's seen, again, she saw
Fred.
the things before. Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to comment that it looks a little bit like Greg's case in Waterloo, as far as the brightness and everything.
Greg's case. Okay.
Yeah, the one he just covered a couple minutes ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, again, the video doesn't offer any distance, and how it's moving, what's in the distance, so.
Well, it says non-flashing, but yet in the video, it looked indeed like it was,
Flashing.
yeah.
Yeah. So, so I said, she said it was moving up and down, right and left. We can't tell with, if she was holding it straight. Didn't see any of that stuff. So the video really didn't match her narrative. So, let's see. So then between the aircraft down in Norfolk flying around, it was just doing circles, and is all inside Norfolk, just really low
Just
around.
like a little joyride.
Yep, he's out training. Some guy was out joyriding at 10 o'clock at night. It was right around that same time period, and then the ISS. So I didn't have enough information to really conclude anything. So again, this is insufficient evidence. All right, now comes my big case. And I'll be spending quite a bit of time with this, oh, I gotta pick up my papers. Let that my stuff back. This case actually started off being, I thought it was gonna be a really simple case, and I gave it to John Barta, or one of our new FIs. I said, that's a simple light in the sky, bip, bop, boop. Never turned out that way. John called me about 2 weeks after he got investigated. He says, Fred, I need your help. I go, why? He says, well, this is turning out to be more than just a light in the sky. I go, really? He goes, yeah. He says he's had some other UFO sightings. And he says he was being overwhelmed, and with all these other different cases. So I'll have actually, his name is Tom. I'm just going to use his first name. Tom is on Zoom call, so I'm going to have Tom talk about one of his UFO sightings, which I feel there was some missing time and a point where the guys were seeing a light. They were looking to the north and there was a light in the sky. And eventually they saw another light coming from the south, and these two lights came together and they kind of interplayed a little bit, and then they zoomed off. And then that's when they said, next thing we know, we're like down on our knees looking up at the sky. I'm like, what happened? I said, you were in the car, and the next thing you know, they're on the ground on their knees. So I'm going, how much time was there? And he had mentioned something about they were looking at it earlier that evening around 7, 8 o'clock. And then it was around midnight when they finally disbanded and left, you know. So there's quite a bit of time involved with this one. So I'll have Tom talk about that. But this whole thing is about a sighting of, here's the premise of it. She was, it's taken quite a bit of time. I mean, it's taken more than 3 months to work with Tom, because when we first got it was back in June and July, excuse me, I think it was June. And get all my notes all crazy like. And Tom reported his case on May 16th of 2024 and gave us a video. Well, the video is in another format, so I had to have John Barta, he's an IT guy, so he reconverted the tape so us folks could just click on it and watch it. And it's fairly, and you have to understand Tom too. I mean, he's from the, he's living right now in Palmer, which again is just north of Grand, what's it? Grand Island, yeah. So it's just north of Grand Island, about 30, 40 miles north. He lives out in the country, you know, so there's a lot of open space and things of that nature. So Tom is kind of eclectic like me, you know. I've got a story that just blew me away. As I was talking to Tom, I said, Tom, you have all these sightings, you know. I said, but, you know, and then I think you got missing time, so maybe there's an abduction there. And he says, well, that's just part of the story. I'm like, oh, really? So I really having a lot of fun with Tom, you know, because we got this case in late June, and then July 4th comes around and people are on vacations, you know, I'm on vacation, John's on vacation, and Tom's on vacation. So we didn't get together until for another month or so. And I thought Tom was ghosting me for a while because he wouldn't say anything, you know, and I find out he lives in Palmer and he's got this cell phone, and his cell phone is very limited on what we can do. You can't put any emojis in there. I mean, it just,
Oh, God forbid.
God forbid if you put any emojis on text messages. He wasn't picking them up, and it would scramble all the text message and he couldn't get them. So the only way I could really talk to Tom is either the phone or I found out email. So all these times John and I are texting him, and he's like, why isn't Tom talking to us? You know, so I felt like I was getting ghosted by Tom.
I'm surprised you didn't go yet.
I know it's about a 2.5 hour drive, you know, to Norfolk, or up to Grand Island, and up to I get Norfolk all brained up in my head now. But yeah, I hope to meet up with Tom, and we did have a really great conversation on August 11th. So we had this one conversation over the phone on June 3rd, I think. And then all of a sudden, here's August 11th. He appears about a week before August 11th. And I'm like, God, Tom, I thought you were ghosting the crap out of me. We were just ready to write. I wrote it off. You know, it's like, you know, Tom didn't get back with us, you know, but finally he comes back and talks with us. And he happened to be in Ashland, Nebraska. I'm like, what? It says his daughter's down there and lives in Ashland. So we got with Tom.
Herb Shermer case.
I know, the Herb Shermer case. The old Herb Shermer case, you know, and so we got with Tom and we chit-chatted. We were at the one of the nicer restaurants there that I think that you can wine tasting little place in there in Ashland. I forget the name of it. And Timber Creek Icing Saloon or something or other, whatever it is. But it's a really place. If you like wine and things of that nature, best place to go. So
Oh, yeah, wine from Nebraska. Yum,
yeah.
yum.
So we had a nice conversation, and then as we were talking, so I mean, I got to know. You really got to take time to meet these folks, and it's like, and I'm an experiencer. I've had my ET experiences. I've seen my craft, and this and that, and all kind of convoluted to where I see the craft. The next thing you know, I'm having dreams, and next thing you know, I'm in a blue vortex being taken up through the ceiling, and I don't know where I'm going. I'm levitating over my bed. And so I'm looking at Tom kind of the same way. When you talk to experiencers, there's another whole world out there that people don't realize that we're going through. And we get kind of kicked to the curb. I was just telling Jimmy, and he's from a religious sect, and I was born Lutheran, and we talked about how we got kicked out from I went to a Lutheran church, and I went through a divorce. I was helping another friend, and I got kicked out of the church after the meeting because after the third time I got there, they go, you're scaring our parishioners. I'm like, what? I said, what you're talking about and things of that nature. So here I am talking about, not so much about UFOs, but just about self-empowerment. And Jimmy knows all about it. He got kicked out from his religious sect. I won't say which one, but this was just the King of Kings Lutheran Church here in town. And they met me at the door the third time I walked in. They pulled me to the side and says, we don't want you to be here.
Well, you didn't get kicked out of the Lutheran faith, like.
No.
Communication as in the Catholic Church.
Well, Jimmy did. So
Oh, wow. Sorry.
Jimmy did. So, but, and so I'm talking to Tom, and I'm going to tell you a story. He says, you talked about these two sightings. I said, well, yeah, that sounds like, so I said, are you psychic, Tom? He goes, yeah, my whole family is. He's got that quasi, we don't talk a lot about it, but we know that certain things are going to happen. And Tom says, do you have precognitive dreams? He goes, yes. And they happened? He goes, yes. So I said, I got you. I've had those. I've had dreams of my mother passing. In fact, my mother came to me right before she passed and says, I got to go. And I had a gun in my hand. And she says, I said, Mom, I've got to kill you. She says, I know you do. Do it. I blew her away. And I called my sisters, and my mom wants to pass. So my sisters came next week, and they had a nice time. My mom had been sleeping a lot at the nursing home. And I told my sisters, I said, Mom's going to pass soon, so you leave. And so they flew back. So I told them, I said, don't be alarmed that Mom's going to pass soon. And so they flew back to San Diego, Tampa, and Washington, D.C. Sure enough, they left that Monday. Tuesday morning, I got a call from the nursing home, said the nurses were pushing your mom down the hallway down to breakfast. And he said, your mom's head went to the side. She passed the next day. So that kind of gets to me, when you have dreams like that, so I'm high-fiving Tom, and so he has the same type of dreams where he's given precognitive dreams of what's going to go on in the family, especially loved ones, So I'm getting with Tom, and I'm just getting a really good feeling with Tom, and having a really good time. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about Tom that's just going to blew me away. And Tom he had a heart condition, and he had to have a surgery at 6 years old. And he had a hole in his heart. And I said, what happened, Tom? He says, well, he said, he went into the surgery, and all of a sudden he says, I find myself out of body. I'm looking up above, and I'm seeing the doctor, and I'm seeing the nurses. He's up above looking down, and he said, I'm 6 years old. I've got all this energy. So he said, I started doing flips in the air, flipping around. And I said, did you see your body? He says, well, after a little bit of time, he said, he moved over and he could look down and he saw his body down on the table, and the doctors were talking and all the nurses were this and that, and they were doing their thing, you know. I'm like, wow, Tom, that's pretty crazy. And he says, and then he says, oh, I went up to the ceiling and I kind of like merged through the ceiling and I could see up onto the second floor. I go, really? Yeah. I go, what happened? He goes, well, there was this nurse there. And he goes, and what happened then? He says, you know, when you're 6 years old and you're in the quantum, this is where when you're out of body, people have near-death experiences. You know, people have near-death experiences meet deceased loved ones or other dimensional beings and say it's not your time, and they're shown various different things. And you're very, very psychic. So he's already psychic. So now he's in the quantum where everything's wide open. He picks up on this gal. He says, he said, I just all of a sudden saw this whole imagery, this whole download of images where she was supposed to get married in another couple of weeks. And he tells me, I saw her, and she said she went home one evening early from her nursing job that day, walked in the house, and there she saw her bridesmaid in bed with her fiance. So she's just emotionally a wreck, you know. So Tom picked up, and being very empathic, picked up on this woman saying, oh my God, you know, so he could actually feel as a little 6-year-old. This is a little 6-year-old guy. Now remember this. And he goes, he just saw what she's going through, you know, and he didn't know what to do. So eventually he said he went back to his body. And then a couple hours later, he's in the ICU room. And guess who's tending him in the ICU room? It's the same nurse up on the second floor. So she's down in the ICU room. And Tom goes, as a little boy, he just blurted it out and goes, it's going to be okay. Because he just saw another image come to him and said, it's going to be okay. Don't marry the guy, because I just see you getting married in 2 years with a doctor here in the hospital. So everything's okay. So just kind of walk away from it. And he's trying to feeling all this off. Well, there happen to be 2 black gals that are in like home housekeeping, and they blurt out, he's from the devil. Don't believe it, a word he has to say. I'm like, oh my God, the little 6-year-old boy, he's blurting out. And so that kind of like traumatized him a little bit, you know, like of his abilities and things of that nature. But through his life, I said, yeah, I've had dreams, and I've been given future forecasts, and they all have come true. And he says, yeah, sometimes relatives I know are going to be passing. I know, I kind of tell my family what's going to go on. So he's very, very sensitive. And in that same gender, I don't know if anybody picked up the book. I don't know if Chris Bledsoe's book on UFO gods. And Chris Bledsoe has been on. He had an abduction. Yeah, he had an.
He was first on, I believe it was the History Channel.
Right.
Back in like, what was it, like 2002 or
Right.
something, when his case
Right.
was first.
So he was on History Channel. He's been on Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. They did a whole freaking segment on him. So he goes out and gets abducted. He went down with his son. They went down river fishing and things of that nature. And then he decides to go up on top of the hill, and he sees these lights. And the next thing you know, he thought he was gone for like 20, 30 minutes, but it's been 4 hours. And his son says, where the hell you been? Where the hell you been? He says, we've been looking all over you, you know? Well, again, these are the stories of abductees. And I'll just read you the back section of Chris Bledsoe, because I'm looking at Tom the same way I'm looking at Chris Bledsoe.
So you recommend that book?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Again, he's from North Carolina. Tom is I would say, Chris Bledsoe was very religious. I think he was of the Pentecostal church. And so you're ingrained, as well as Jimmy knows over here, when you're ingrained to a religious sect, you know everybody and everybody. And if you don't follow the rules and their laws and structure, you're pretty much kicked out. Well, all of a sudden, here comes Chris Bledsoe. He's a Pentecostal, and he starts talking about his sightings and so forth. And the church just kicks him to the curb, you know. And he loses his business, and everybody just throws crap at him because he knows everybody in the area. Everybody knows him. He was a house builder, and he lost his business. He lost his job. He lost everything. I mean, he was down just scrapping for just money for eating and things, and they were growing vegetables and so forth. He had Crohn's disease. Over time, he had developed Crohn's disease. And one of the things about Chris Bledsoe is a lot of the abductees are healed. And I know one case here in Omaha, Nebraska. The woman had issues with giving birth. That there's a possibility of death with giving birth because they bleed out. Well, the doctors knew about this, and they were telling her, I said, I don't know if you can have babies, you know, because you don't want a fear of death. Well, this couple, as I got to know them in my lifetime, they had a screen memory. They were up by Bellevue area. They went up and they drove up and they saw this swimming pool, and they had just moved in from town they were military folks. And they saw this in which case they had just watched this movie at the Twin Cinema, Bellevue Cinema there. And as they were driving out, I want to say the name Frank says, I got this voice in my head to turn right because it's shorter to go that way, when they needed to turn left and go south, which is totally the opposite direction. So he turns right. He drives up there, and then all of a sudden they found themselves in front, and they saw this swimming pool. And in this swimming pool, they were taking this is like March. They said, oh, we can bring our kids here, you know, we can do all this fun stuff, and, you know, and we can, well, sure enough, summer comes. Linda grabs a hold of their kids, and they even grabbed the neighborhood kids, took them down to where Linda thought that's where the swimming pool was at. She drives around there. There's no swimming pool. There's no swimming pool. And she gets out of the car, looks around, and there's a policeman that came up, the Bellevue policeman comes up and stops the cop, you know, says, hey, where's the swimming pool at? Oh, there's one across town. You know, that's the only swimming pool that we have. No, but right here. Isn't there one here? No, there's one across town. So Linda calls Frank and says, all right, we'll go over there. We'll find it later, you know. So Frank and Linda go over there. Sure enough, he drives the same spot, no swimming pool. So then all of a sudden Frank goes, Frank tells me about one of my experiences that it was a screen memory, you know, and I was driving down the road and I see this T intersection. I'm going to crash into this ditch, and I'm doing 60 miles an hour down this stupid gravel road late at night. Ended up, I'm applying the brakes to my car because I see the T intersection and we skid, and my car did a perfect 90-degree turn, and I launched no closer than a foot away from two trees had fallen across the road. And I go, I have to have my best buddy with me, my fraternity brother, Tom. I say, Tom, I said, did you see that T intersection sign that I saw? He goes, no, I'm glad you did. Because I said, you seen the trees? He goes, yeah. And I had to back this way numerous times in order to get away from the tree. I couldn't even open my door. I was that close to the trees. So then I sped off, you know, and then we were driving from Rhinebeck, Iowa to Ames, Iowa. We were out on this kind of a street dance in Rhinebeck, and Tom says, let's go have fun. So we drove this hour and a half to Rhinebeck from Ames. Then I get back to Ames, I found out the birds are chirping. So we left around midnight, 12:30 at night. It should only take me an hour and a half to get back to Ames. And I should have been well back in Ames by 2 o'clock. But when I was, Tom and I never said another word. There's another thing about abductions. You don't say anything about it. You don't talk about it. You don't say anything about it. You know, it's just like zip. And so here I am, and I'm walking back up to the fraternity house, and I hear the birds. You know, it's most definitely, you can, you know, how the birds just squawk, squawk, squawk. They're squawking. I thought, oh, the birds are chirping. Well, it took me several years to figure out, well, if it's 12:30 and it's an hour and a half, and even I've given an extra half hour for all the, you know, the detour I had to do. So about 2:00, 2:30. Well, what time did the birds chirp? About 4:30 in the morning. So I thought, I've got 2 hours of missing time. And over time, Frank told me, he says, well, the swimming pool in Frank and Linda's case, that was the craft. That was the screen memory. And my two trees had fallen in a row. That's another screen memory. That was a craft that basically controlled me to that point, gave me the vision of crashing into the T intersection, into the ditch. Well, a funny thing about Frank and Linda had Dr. Richard Boylan, I should say,
Yeah.
Boylan, Dr. Richard Boylan. There was a conference down here in Lincoln, of all places. And I said, hey, and I'm like right across, you know, we're at Village Inn, and I'm sitting straight across from Dr. Richard Boylan. I go, hey, Dr. Boylan, I said, you're not into this UFO stuff because you haven't had your own experiences. Is that correct? He goes, that's right. I've had my experiences. I said, well, thank you. And then he does hypnotic regressions, you know, and I said, I've got a couple up in Omaha has had this screen memory, you know, I'm saying it's a screen memory and things of that nature, because in their case, you know, they thought they saw a chain link fence around the swimming pool. And they were
Cool.
a public pool. Yeah.
Yeah, they were excited.
Yeah, they were excited. So I said,
Crazy.
would you have time to do a regression for this couple? You know, and said, sure, no problem. So what time? So tomorrow, 8:00. So they drive down. So I call up Frank and Linda. I said, come on down. Said, got Dr. Richard Boylan do a regression on you. He said, oh, great. So then, long story short, here comes Frank and Linda down the stairs, and I met them at about 9:00, and Frank's eyes are this big. And he goes, yeah, the swimming pool. I saw that the swimming pool was the craft and things of that nature. So there's verifiable kind of a construct of you do regression work, you find out a lot more that happens behind the scenes and things of that nature. So here's Chris Bledsoe, another bona fide abductee and things of that nature. And I'll just read again, backside. It says, Chris Bledsoe, a very deeply religious family man and successful business owner from the North Carolina, on the verge of the unthinkable after losing everything in the 2007 financial crisis and suffering from a debilitating chronic disease, Crohn's. Fishing along the banks of Cape Fear River with his 3 co-workers and his teenage son, he walks away from the group and cries out to God in a desperate plea for help. Suddenly, a UFO appears and saves his life and cures him of his illness. Cures him. So he got abducted. Now he doesn't have Crohn's disease. Experiencing 4 hours of missing time, he returns and finds his group dismayed. Terrified, they run for their lives as several UFOs chase them home. In this very true story of hope, love, lies, and deception involving the CIA, NASA, and a string of professors, and guess what? MUFON. And I read this as MUFON didn't really treat them as well as they should, you know, because I don't think the right people were doing the right thing, you know, and they were trying to jack with Chris. You're about to go on a spiritual journey of awakening with a visitation from a lady. Again, Chris later on meets this dynamic being, as she calls him, the lady, who could be Mother Mary, of that sensation. And he had the premonition of remote viewing, assassination plot of the Pope, dripping orbs, a burning tree, and the Monroe Institute and healing the son of Washington, D.C. power broker with ties to the IC in the White House. 15 years on, the phenomenon still visits Bledsoe family and affects their lives of those who come in contact with him. And one thing that Chris Bledsoe can do, he can communicate with the ETs, and ET says, we're going to be right here in the sky. And then he says, 30 seconds or a minute beforehand, so they just told me they're going to appear right here. Within a half a minute or so, they appear, and that they have cameras and everything. They were showing the cameras on beyond Skinwalker Ranch. They were videotaping all this stuff. So yeah, he can call in the craft. He can call it.
Doesn't he have, like, to this day, like, just strangers show up at his house and
Right.
on his property,
Right.
and he accepts them all, and they go
Right.
out and do a watching, and
Oh, yeah.
they are.
Yeah, so he's he's a very humbled man, very humble and so forth. So in Tom's case, here he is, this little boy, 6 years old, sees this empathic, so he's a very empathic person, picks up this woman's scenario, tells her that he sees the future with her, that she's supposed to not marry her, but marries this doctor. So I don't know. I said, Tom, did you ever figure out if she got married to the guy and to the doctor? And then a couple of years later, they said, no, of course I'm 6 years old, so you couldn't really keep tabs with it, so that was kind of interesting. So this case started off, Tom coming to MUFON says, I'm meditating. And so Tom's kind of a serious meditator, and he meditates. He gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning. He sits and meditates. And then one of the times he was sitting there, and all of a sudden a message came to him and says, wake up. And when he looked up, he looked out the window, and there's this bright light through the window. And he says, so he started videotaping. He's got this psionics camera, which some of the field investigators have. It's a really nice little camera, and it videotapes in infrared too, a little bit higher frequency than normal. And so that was the whole case. It's just this, he was showing this. And so in the video, I'm going to show you some of the things.
So when he was abducted, did his heart condition when he was 6? His heart's probably not perfect,
Right.
but now is it? I
Well,
thought that's what you were.
he's okay. Everything's fine with him. They fixed whatever they needed to do and everything. And so, but he's still, I think his near-death experience, whenever you have a near-death experience and things of that nature, it opens up the veil. You're wide open, you're even more sensitive and more empathic. Here's a picture where these lights, see where this kind of line is right through this area, right through here. All these, we've got like a 2-minute video, and all these lights start coming through this area, lights coming down through, and he sped it up like times 12 so we can see like 20 to 25 minutes of video in about 2 minutes. And all these lights started coming through, and as I had Terry Tyree, who is the MUFON field investigator out of Illinois right now. He was down in Missouri, but he moved up to Chicago area, and he moved up to Chicago. Now he's a MUFON field investigator there, and he does photo and video analysis. And so these little arrows here are showing other little lights in the sky that are going off. And I could have to say some are satellites. I did see some satellites, but in the video, in this 2.5-minute video, there's a total of 123 objects moving through this video, in this 2-minute video. They all suddenly appear, and this is the analysis from Larry Tyree from Illinois. Total 123 objects moved through the screen. They all suddenly appeared and were visible and moved without leaving any trail. The vast majority of the 117 emanated from 5 stationary central objects, points, which are these 5 points here, that are relatively close to one another. In other words, they seem to have appeared from some other type of invisible craft, like they came from another craft, or from a portal, or they themselves just remove their cloaking at that time period. And let's see. The stationary objects did not move during the video. There are 3 arrows depicting points of origin which do not appear to have a visible nature, like whether star-like craft or other, which I think these are the things that he's talking about, these 3 right here. And there are 2 occasions in which an object had a bright flash. And here you got down here, this little dot, there's a big flash. And if you ever been on a CE5, sometimes I've been on them where even James Gilliland up in his ranch, the ECETI ranch, lights be going across the sky, and then all of a sudden they just what we call power up, and they get really super bright. They're like supernova-like, and then they disappear. So we have in this video, 2-minute video, one occurred at 16 to 17 seconds into the video. The other happened in 1:31 seconds for just 1 frame. And both flashed at the same location. It is indicated by the black dot. So we'll show the video and we'll see that there. And then they said there are the fast movers in 2 frames. Oops. And here's the fast mover. The fast mover is this, it just goes so super fast, and it goes through the video within seconds. And he got 2 frames where this light showed up. And here's a magnification, which is kind of like a craft, which again was similar to, oops. Oh, here it is, right here. This is the one that becomes really super big. This is where the light expands, and we call it like a power up. And as you can see, in this little dark spot right there, can you see the little?
Yeah.
Larry says it's kind of like this guy right here. And here's where it just starts to get large in brightness, and then it maximizes right here. So, and then and this is the fast mover right here.
I mean, do we have an idea on scale here? Like, so it was like that on the top.
Right.
So from the ground, would that be like the size of my thumb, and then it increases?
Well, this is the fast mover, and that's an amplification. And so that's right where they appear in this area. But this one's the expanded, the one that gets bright.
Yeah, I'm just wondering by how much does it expand?
All right, he said he's got it. See, the original size is 2.5 millimeters at frame 16. Prior, the flash size is about 5.5 millimeter. And during the flash, at the original is 2.5 millimeters, I should say, 2.5 millimeters. The flash size of the biggest one is 30 millimeters. So it's huge at frame 1622. So we'll see the video. And so I wanted to show you exactly what to be looking for, and we can go back and take a look at the big flash. And I don't know if we can see the fast mover because it goes in there really fast. And then there's another flash that just flashes really quick, and that's at 16 minutes into the time frame. So Kyle, where's my little, oops. Did I give you my? It's in the computer?
Stop sharing and reshare.
Okay, so what do I do?
Switch it. Stop share. This one.
Yeah.
And well, I gotta go back to Zoom. And
Sure.
yeah.
Here it is.
Okay. And big. We need more bars popping up here.
Yeah.
All right, you're good to go.
All right, here's our video, and you can see kind of what's going on. And Again, look down over here. As you see these lights right here, you'll see all these various lights coming through this area. And then you'll see stuff going across this way, vice versa. So I just want to forewarn you what to be looking for here. You'll see all these lights coming through. All right, here we go. Again, this video has been speeded up by Tom by times 12. So it's 2 minutes, 25 seconds. So times 12, so that's around 25 minutes. See, there's some lights. Here's another light. Come look at, when it comes up to 17 seconds, be looking down over here and you'll see the big flash. See how all these are just like moving out of this various, oh, there's the flash. Did you see that? Now what does that? Something, I don't know. So
It almost looks like these are coming from a huge craft that is cloaked, although they themselves are.
but remember, this is times 12. This is well over, 25 minutes. As you can see other lights here. There's one going out this way. There's some that were going over here. Larry said there's some coming over here. There's another one comes zipping across here. There's another one. Here's another one. There's another, and there's another one up here.
Oh, there's another one.
Oh, there's the one. I think this is an aircraft.
Oh, okay.
And there's some there.
We're gonna have to take the cursor away.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Get the cursor out of the way. Please.
So I did look up meteor showers, and there's the Lydiad shower but it didn't start until like the 18th of April, 14th of April to the 30th. So so it'd have been around on the 25th was the maximum of meteors. So I don't think these are meteors, but you notice how they just kind of appear and disappear, and it'll be coming up here pretty quick. It'll be a quick flash. Remember, quick flash down here. That should be coming up here pretty quick.
Oh, so the flash was towards the end.
So what is your take, folks? What are you thinking?
Not meteors, because they do a lot.
Oh, do you see that flash? Flash?
That fast mover.
Yeah, could have been the fast mover. But there might be another flash too. That might have been a fast mover, and there's another flash here. Okay, we can kind of slow this down a little bit. We'll go here for that. No. I just want to look as, again, here's this line where all the things are appearing. Okay, it's coming up. I'll slow it down to minimal here once we get about 17 seconds in. 12 seconds, we're going to about 16, start looking right around here. Okay, there's the light right there. Oh, there it is, right there. There's your light right there.
See that they're all going in the same general direction.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm assuming, you said that there were a couple of satellites.
Yeah.
I'm assuming those are maybe.
I did look, I saw maybe 4 or 5 satellites that popped up in Stellarium, but they were going in other directions too. So take half of those going the other direction, which could have been the ones going across this way.
It's not going straight.
Yeah.
Do you have any information on what the lens were?
The what? The lens? When? I don't have that with me right now. This is April 5th of 2024. It was about 37 degrees that day. So this is like 3 o'clock. The video started at 3:58 in the morning. And so probably going to about 4:25 in the morning.
Was there any other witnesses or does he live alone?
Well, he actually said he'd been watching this stuff. He said like this, he felt like there's this portal opening up right there. He's been seeing this stuff for a month now. And all this stuff is just floating through. And that's why he had to get a camera that he could video record it. And so he got that psionics, which again, the MUFON field investigators uses it and things of that nature.
Is this a night vision type?
Yes.
Image, or
Yeah, it's a night vision type goggle. Yeah, it's a green screen type scenario on it too, filtering. No, I don't think he does. This is the only thing that he has of it. He has a YouTube that where he shows all his other pictures, and Tom is going all excited. He said, "Look at here! I've got this trail of lights. They're all, I said, Tom. He said, they're not SpaceX. And I go, well, I said, well, let me take a look. Again, I'm wanting to say, yeah, there might be, but to me, after looking after SpaceX, I said they look pretty much like SpaceX. Tom, he gave me two, one on, I think it was right around the end of May and first part of June, or of this month, I should say, of July. And so I did look, and the ones that he saw was a day after a launch out in Florida and California of SpaceX, of low orbiting SpaceX satellites. And then 3 days later, he saw the same ones, and they were just, there's a typical, linear dots, and they just moved just perfectly, and they went down through the horizon and things of that nature. So I had to tell Tom, I said, sorry, but those aren't UFOs, those are SpaceX, and you got them on camera. There's a great video of it, but I'm sorry, it's not there.
I'd like to interject something that's probably very unlikely, but I'm going to interject it just to play the devil's advocate.
Right.
If this is April, sometimes the wind comes from the north.
Right. These are going from, he's looking north, and they're going to the northeast to the east. Is how he's on his farm. I was going to say, I should have showed the pictures of his farm and where he lives there.
Back in those days, there were a lot of discussion of wildfires up in Canada. Who's to say these are pendants or something like that? So like I said,
That's wild. I think they probably burnt out by then. Anybody else want to see something different? Did you guys see the other second flash over here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, disperse of that. Stop sharing. Back to
Share again.
I think that's a good point about fires, though.
You have to try to let you share, not just one.
and where we up here.
When the camera.
We're gonna be,
Right. Right. Exactly.
I think it's that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it shared on there?
Stuff there regularly?
Pardon me?
Do you still see that stuff regularly?
Well, he's out there doing his meditations, and he's kind of cut down because he's out there just about every night looking at stuff. But I think he's down maybe a couple nights on the weekends where he has time where he can just relax and look at them.
Probably worth putting some more sophisticated equipment out there.
Yeah.
Are we still talking about Tom from Palmer?
Yeah. No, this is Palmer. And here's Palmer. Palmer is right here. And this is where he lives, just kind of like 5 miles east out in the country. And this is his farm right here. So he gets out here, I think, in this area. Are you there, Tom? Can you click in and say who you are? So he gets out here so this is to the north and this is east, west, and south. He's on this county road. Well, the one is near-death exciting, and then I was going to have Tom, if he wanted to talk about the experience of the UFO craft that he saw, where his buddies were driving around and they saw this craft, and he saw the ones from the north, and they came and they intertwined and they just dispersed. But I don't know exactly when all that happened. I mean, it was like from 7 o'clock till about midnight, but there was a point where he didn't know. They were watching it. The next thing they know, that all three of the guys were down on the ground on their knees. And I'm like, just all of a sudden he goes, yeah, like something happened, and all three of them were down on the ground on his knees.
Can you hear me, Fred?
Hey, are you there?
I'm sorry, I had you muted. Yeah.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
can you talk about the one UFO sighting that you had with your two buddies and where the two lights came together and you're down on your knees?
Yeah, that happened on September 16, 1981.
1981.
They were seeing, 1981, and they were seeing multicolored objects over by Lexington, especially this one. And we went and pursued it the next day because they had broadcasted all over radio stations and stuff. People are calling in talking about it. And then Stan Friedman was there the Thursday talking at, well, it was UK at that time, it was Kearney State College. And we were deciding whether to go investigate this UFO thing they're seeing or go to the lecture. And we decided to go investigate it. And anyway, we found the one they were talking about and we pursued it, tried to get closer to it. It was out west, which Stan Friedman said he thought it would be Venus because it was turning multicolors. But this object, if you looked at it through the corner of your eye, would be bouncing around like it was on a bobber on the water. And then it would swirl in a circle counterclockwise, and then it'd bobble. And we lost it. We were out north or south of Lexington when we first seen this object. Then we went through Lexington and headed out north because this guy, he knew the area out there. He was a farmer and stuff, farmer's kid. And
let me stop you for a minute, Tom. Let me stop you for a minute, Tom.
Yeah.
He says he talked about seeing this object.
Gracie, sit.
And it's like this. You can see this? This is my notes.
Hey, Gracie, come in.
And it's there's a light in the center, and then there's 8 lights on the outside, and then there's 24 on the outer third ring that he was viewing. So you got 24 on the outside, 8 that made like an octagon type shape, a center light. So this is massive. This is kind of a massive sighting. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, so this is the incident we're talking about.
I think so.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, well, later on, we went north of Lexington, got up on top of this hill on this country road, got out because there was an interesting object to the north, probably the northeast. And we were a few miles from Eddyville, the highway. Anyway, we got out to look at it, all 3 of us. And there was a gal with us, but she was underneath the dashboard. She didn't want anything to do with this. And we seen that one, and you could look directly at it, and it was bobbing and doing the same thing as that other one, but you could look directly at it, and you could tell it was doing these things. So that one of the buddies said that it was the barometric pressure change, and it's causing it to wave like that. which that was logical, until it stopped. And then I had this funny feeling, and I looked to the east or to the west, and that's when the other one came. So we were looking at each other, and that's the last time I remember it, because they were coming together and they would have met right over the top of our heads. And I know it was daylight, still kind of daylight. The when we got up off our knees, it was dark because we could see Lexington and the city lights and everything before. City lights weren't really, you couldn't really see them. So it was right at dusk when we got there. And I know it was about 10 o'clock because I looked at my watch.
What you doing?
And we took off.
What you doing, girl? What you doing? Did you come down to see me? Did you come see me? Yeah, we're you too. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's Buster doing? What's Buster doing?
Yeah.
Wife? You guys hear any of this?
No.
No.
So, too bad our audio is not working correctly.
Well, and I'm out in the country. But anyway, that they made a formation. But what I'm witnessing now, I take photos every time it's a clear night, or I shoot videos. And this thing is tracking. I've followed this since January 31st or whatever, when I first saw it in 2023. And I followed it, and I've been going outside. Last year I went outside about September 16th because I always got this feeling that I'm going to see this formation again on that date. I call it the anniversary date. And that's when I started going outside and I started observing it low to the horizon, several objects. They'll get brighter because they're moving to the south. Right now, before I've been tracking them at northeast at 23 degrees. Now they're up to northeast at 44 degrees. They're varying back and forth, and I get them every night. What I see with my naked eye is nothing compared to what's going on in the background. And Fred was right about the ones about Starlink, because I got video of Starlink, but this where they just popped out of nowhere, and he was telling me there's a convergence zone or something where sunlight doesn't hit those objects. They're just out of that deal, and then they hit the sunlight, and then you see them, they just pop out of nowhere. But these things have been going, I'm pretty sure I'm catching the tail end of the activity where you can see it with the naked eye. It's probably 2 o'clock in the morning, and I have to go to work, be in Kearney by 8, and that's an hour and a half drive. So, but I still got them filmed. You can go to YouTube. I sent John a flash drive. Hopefully he's getting that analyzed.
Yeah.
It's at a fixed point. I don't move that camera, and I've moved it to other spots so people can see. I'm not playing around. They're not moving anywhere else. They're in this one area and stuff. And
We're having a tough time, Tom, hearing you here in our little schedule. But I know that
Okay.
you have a lot to talk about your sightings and so forth, and we're going to get on with our rest of our program. I do thank you for showing up, and I think everybody gets a good idea of what's going on. Tom he graduated from Kearney. Let's see, in recreational. What did you graduate, Tom? I'm looking at my notes.
Recreation leadership comprehensive.
Yeah, recreational leadership. That's correct. So Tom is just like you, just a typical. He worked. He was a manager for Wendy's for like 13 years, but he actually worked in the prison, and he was a counselor in prison. So he's a really humanitarian, as far as I'm concerned. He has a big heart. But he's degreed. He's no slacky. He's just a typical nice guy. But he's had hell of a lot of experiences going on with the craft and his premonitions and dreams. So I have a kindred heart for him being an experiencer like myself. And I suppose Tom, and over time, he may want to do some hypnosis regression and possibly find out what took place during those other times and things of that nature. So any other questions about Tom and what he's up to? And hopefully one of these days I'll be able to get up to Palmer and have
Well,
a,
maybe he could come back when we have our audio fixed.
yeah,
We
okay.
can
Yeah, good.
Hear more from him. Well, it's just hard to understand.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah. Is there,
Listening to it on YouTube later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really strong.
yeah, the YouTube or Facebook, if you go on there, it should have, the audio should be fine on there.
But you haven't given us his YouTube page or anything.
well, I can put it up. I can
Yeah.
put it on the website. So,
Yep.
so thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
All right. You bet. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Fred,
Yeah.
I brought up the idea of burns happening in the spring. Those dark spots on the screen right there, that have nothing to do with the field.
No.
In fact, that photo is probably from a different time anyway, right?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know all this stuff. I don't know when this was taken. This picture was taken. Could be, but this is his trees and he's out here out in the sticks here, looking up to the north, out this area, then all the stuff to the east. So,
Right.
But
Where
yeah.
you see that tree, see the tree line over there. I'm out in the field across out of the green area. Out
Over
to
here?
the other side. Yeah, right there.
okay.
Right along that shelter belt.
Okay. So he's just outside the tree line and he looks. All
To
right.
the northeast. Yep.
Yep. Out through this way. This is northeast here.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. All right, Tom. Appreciate it. All
All right. Thank you. You bet.
right, man. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks.
Yep. I got everything but my book. Hope you guys enjoyed that
Let's
one.
see what we got here.
Yeah, thank you, Fred.
Here's where we go into often.
Yeah, your book review?
I'm gonna do a book review here on Lou Elizondo's latest book. It's called Inside the Pentagon's Hunt for UFOs Imminent by Louis Elizondo, former head of the Department of Defense's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. And the purpose of this book was to tell the story of Lou Elizondo's time in the Pentagon and what led up to the departure from ATIP, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, and the subsequent release of the Tic Tac, the Go Fast, and the Gimbal videos, and to lay out the denial of the Pentagon to his actual work for ATIP, along the way you get insight into his personal life and story and other events such as remote viewing and orbs, which I thought was kind of interesting. Anyway, Lou Elizondo, he's like I said, he's the former head of ATIP, the Pentagon unit that was used to known as undefined anomalous UAPs. Prior to ATIP, Elizondo oversaw counter-espionage and counterterrorism investigations worldwide for the Department of Defense, and also worked for the Office of National Counterintelligence Office and the Office of Director of National Intelligence. Elizondo is a proud Army veteran and later served his country throughout the world, including South Korea, Latin America, and the Caribbean, Afghanistan, and other countries in the Middle East. And Elizondo was a graduate of the University of Miami, where he studied microbiology and immunology. I found that very interesting, the microbiology part of it. Anyway, this is kind of got screwed up from Microsoft PowerPoint to go to the Google Slides. Anyway, there's a bunch of acronyms here that are kind of hard to see. Yeah, ATIP. I'll go over some of them. You got OSAP, the Advanced Aerospace Weapons Space Application Program. You got AATIP, which is the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. And they were similar, but OSAP came before ATIP. You got things like the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the National Security Council, the OSD, the Office of the Secretary of Defense, and the office that Lou Elizondo worked for was the Office for the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. And then you got things like SCIF, Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility, and a lot more, including UFO, UAP, those ones we know. Now, this was when you read the book, it's a good thing to keep track of these because they come up over and over and over, and so it helps you understand the book better and how things work. And who's who? Let's see. We got Eric Davis. Just a bunch of the personalities that are in this book. He's known for the Wilson Davis memo. You got James Clapper. He was a former director for national intelligence. Chris Mellon was the former deputy assistant secretary of defense. You got Hal Puthoff. He was physicist, electrical engineer, and parapsychologist. And Robert Bigelow is founder and president of Bigelow Aerospace, Skinwalker Ranch. Jacques Vallée is a computer scientist and venture capitalist. Gary Nolan, immunologist and materials analysis. Jim Semivan, Central Intelligence Agency. You got Tom DeLonge, the Blink-182 musician and founder of the To the Stars Academy. Harry Reid was a Nevada senator and former majority leader of the Senate. Tim Burchett, Tennessee U.S. representative. And David Grush, a former intelligence officer, Air Force, and whistleblower. And Lou was brought into OSAP in 2008 for counterintelligence. In 2010, he was appointed head of ATIP. And shortly after he was brought into OSAP, Lou was invited to a dinner with Hal Puthoff, Robert Bigelow, and General Paulo Roberto Yac de Miranda y Ochoa. At this dinner, the general told the story of Colores, Brazil. In the mid-70s in Colores, in northeastern coast of Brazil, people noticed strange lights and craft. They were the size of baseballs to craft that could hold an entire city. People were chased by the yellow orb that would turn blue and then fire a laser beam, causing burns and the people to become unconscious. After this period of time, it was found that 300 animals had died. 34 citizens had irritated eyes. 55 individuals with extreme headaches. 18 people claimed to have been abducted by a beam sucking them up. 54 with temporary paralysis, 36 with chronic illnesses, and 10 people died. And this is over a period, over a period of months of time that this happened. And then Lou would later train with Hal Puthoff in remote viewing and become fairly proficient at it. And it came in handy for the rest of his career. He said several times he and his wife saw orbs in their house, and Kenneth Arnold also saw orbs after his famous sighting of flying discs in 1947. Lou relates a story saying that two dogs at Skinwalker Ranch chased a blue orb into a field only to yipe, leaving behind nothing but grease spots. Lou indicates that the blue orbs are the ones to look out for and seem to be the most dangerous. So stay away from those blue orbs. And then there were two camps. Lou realized that there were two camps involved at a political level that were working against their investigations. One being the legacy camp that was all about keeping a secret anything that had to do with UAPs. They had a vested interest in big bucks and were involved in research they had done. So here's a list of some of the companies This list is a current list. The list at the time, it was a little bit different when he was starting. And then the second camp, or the other camp, was known as the Collins Elite. And this group felt that they were demonic and did not want us having anything to do with them. So he says, I've heard stories of powerful circle of religious fundamentalists who shaped policy within the Department of Defense. They were referred to as the Collins Elite. Yet I've learned that the Collins Elite were indeed real, but who were they and what was their agenda? And so later I learned that several of the group's members were former colleagues and even a former supervisor of mine. Now they remain elusive. Their ability to operate in complete anonymity was their strength. So Lou essentially had these two groups that were kind of working against them trying to find things out. And here's the ATIP realized that the advanced capabilities could be categorized by flight characteristics and came up with what they call the 5 observables plus 1 non-flight characteristic capability. And okay, again, Google Slides kind of mess it up, but the speed, hypersonic velocity, the speed of sound is 762 miles per hour, and Mach 5 is 5 times the speed of sound, around 3,800 to 4,000 miles per hour. So anything over Mach 5 is considered hypersonic. Instantaneous acceleration, the sudden increase and decrease in velocity, able to go from 13,000 miles an hour to stopping on a dime. And this would crush anyone in the craft under normal gravity. Low observability. They leave no obvious signs that can be seen or heard, such as contrails, engine sound, or visual sightings. Trans-medium travel, the ability to operate in space, air, or underwater, going in and out with no detectable signs of slowing down. Anti-gravity, the ability to defy or overcome the natural effects of Earth's gravitational pull or objects. That first 5 were the flight characteristics. Now the last one, the 6th one, was biological effects. Things like radiation burns, internal organ damage, and other medical issues. It also includes paradoxical time and perception disorders when the witness talks about their experience. And he goes on to say, unfortunately, multiple members of our team, including myself, experienced severe biological effects resulting in life-threatening medical issues. These biological effects also extended to their family members, including their children. While I'm not able to go into details here, I learned that the military servicemen and intelligence officials who succumbed to their injuries and lost their lives due to the biological effects of UAP encounters. And I learned that the military and intelligence officials who were struggling to survive as a result of biological effects traced to their UAP encounters. And this next slide was supplied to me by Ray Graham. He's a field investigator from Missouri. And he had a presentation on Roswell, and one of the slides had stuff about Lou and Hal Puthoff. It said, I know it's kind of hard to read. It said, Hal looked at me, clearly weighing whether to bring me further into the circle of trust. Yes, Lou, it was real. You mean to tell me that the UAP actually crashed and we covered it up? That's exactly what happened, he replied. I went quiet and let his words sink in. Hal went on to tell me something else that truly blew my mind. 4 deceased non-human bodies were in fact removed from the 1947 Roswell crash. And after processing that, I fired off a slew of questions in head out mouth. Have we recovered non-human bodies from the UAP crashes? He looked at me and debating how to answer. It was clear to me he really was ready to tell me the answer. I was still the new guy. Well, tell me more soon enough, he said. In every upcoming president told the truth. No. Well, what about Congress? What about the Gang of Eight? I said, referring to the legendary bipartisan group of political leaders supposedly charged with knowing all of America's black programs. Hal explained the sad truth is the DOD regards presidents, elected officials, and political appointees as temporary hires. They do not need to know since they will not be in their position for very long. Unless something happens or they really push for it, U.S. presidents do not get briefed, and those who have been briefed have only been given the most basic information. Says like Neo in the movie The Matrix, I inhaled the red pill. Tell me more. That's when I started to learn about the U.S. government's secret history with UAP. The dawn of the nuclear age, UAP started appearing in greater numbers, and sometimes they crashed. Roswell was one of those incidents. A UAP fell that day in the vicinity of the government test facility in New Mexico and broke into 2 crash sites. And thanks, Ray, for this slide on Roswell. Yeah, I guess it's got all right. And then one of the other things that he had in this book is they talked to Gary Nolan and Jacques Vallée. They had all done some metals analysis and stuff, and they had a section on the Council Bluffs, Iowa metal analysis. This is a picture of the metal that we've got in our possession. It says, he said, outwardly, the samples contained elements you'd find anywhere in our solar system: sodium, magnesium, aluminum, silicon, iron, and manganese. However, some of these elements had been engineered as isotopes of the original element. Why would anyone manufacture 3 different isotopes of magnesium and 4 isotopes of iron? At the atomic level, the isotopes were arranged in a matrix with a very deliberate organization and structure between them. And our experts didn't know how we would replicate such things. Furthermore, there seemed to be some fractal properties associated with the materials. A never-ending repetition of patterns within this physical matrix that seemed random yet uniform at the same time. Interestingly, the material seemed to have the ability to transmit multiple frequencies.
And it's interesting to note the paper in which, or the journal in which this article, this white paper was published. It was the first time, what is the name of the journal? It's called, oh, it's not on here. But it was the first time that they had ever published a scientific peer-reviewed paper that dealt with UAPs. At least that's what the book said.
Well, I guess that's what having people like Gary Nolan and Jacques Vallée and other scientists kind of lends a little credence to it. And then in 2017, ATIP released the Tic Tac, the Gimbal, and the Go Fast videos. This was all done with the permission of the Department of Defense. And shortly after this release, Lou felt that things needed to go public, and he resigned from that. Then he joins the Two Stars Academy, started by Tom DeLonge and lead singer for Blink 182. And it's getting a DOD denial that he had anything to do with ATIP. It was not until 2022 that he finally acknowledged by the Pentagon of his involvement, and Lou's resigning and release of the videos has brought this to the attention of Congress and spurned my reports and meetings that continue today. It was brought out, whistleblower David Grush, and he was validated things already said by Lou. Now, remember this book was, when I talk about the Department of Defense, they looked at this book, and there was actual, and this is the first time I've ever seen it, besides documents that show redactions, there were actually parts of the book that were redacted because they had information on them, like some location information, some other information. It wasn't a whole lot, but it was enough that it was kind of interesting. Just kind of remind you that somebody had looked at it and given permission
It
to.
took 2 years.
Yeah.
To finally release and do all their redacting and
Yeah.
allow them to publish it.
Yep. And overall, I felt that the purpose of the book to lay out government programs like ATIP and OSAP were laid out very precise chronological order. And also there was a nice mix of Lou's biography and his experience and thoughts he went through in the process. And one has to keep track of the acronyms as they can get confusing and many are similar to one another. Also, the host of characters is long. And there are many tidbits and revelations that I did not mention that make this a good read, and I recommend that you get it as a reference book. It really goes over the last so many years of all these programs and all this other stuff, what's been going on. It kind of links everything together. So I think it does a nice job of that. And then Richard Dolan said about the book that it's been 70 years since a book like Lou's has come out. And says when Edward Ruppelt, the head of Project Blue Book, published his book, The Report of Unidentified Flying Objects. So he had a high praise for the book also. So anyway, any questions about the book?
One thing interesting in the book that I just thought, it just cracked me up. Lou Elizondo's father was a prisoner in Cuba. He was head of the rebels, and he was actually somehow got to America after 3 top tries. This was before Lou was ever born. And he was a hot-headed Cuban. And he ended up being interviewed by Hollywood directors who were making the movie Scarface. And so it's just kind of interesting little tidbit that his father was Scarface.
Yeah, got an interesting past, father and all.
Yeah. But it's a great book in my opinion.
Yeah. And again, this is the journal entry that of this month, what was in it. Like I said, if you're not a member of MUFON, you should be a member and get the journal. It's pretty good. And they've got their new calendars are out now too. So
now, do we get the MUFON TV with a membership? Do you know, is that part of it, or is that an extra charge?
Yeah.
I think it is.
And it's an extra charge to get the hard copy of the journal.
Yeah, your membership, if you get the hard copy, it's more expensive than if you just get any
letter,
yeah, right, electronic version. And essentially, next month we got the next Nebraska Iowa MUFON meeting. It's not until November 2nd, I think it is, that we're having our next in-person Iowa meeting in West Des Moines. So anyway, unless Kyle, do you have anything else?
Or just wrapping up.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Tom is very, he did go to, he was in the service from '82 to 1986 in special forces and special security forces. At Malmstrom Air Force, so he worked with the missile, Minuteman missiles there at Malmstrom for about 4 years. So he actually helped me with another one of my cases where we'll be talking next month about, doing a little preview. Next month we'll be talking about 2 security guards out at western Nebraska where the missile silo was, there was a non-nuclear explosion that happened in the silo, and this UFO came over 2 days later, and things have happened. And what he got, once he saw it, the next day he was released from the Air Force and things of that nature. So he had asked for early release. He was denied early release, and then that was before he saw the sighting. And as soon as he saw the sighting, 12 hours later, he was out of the Air Force. So that's a little upcoming, and again, Tom has, again, military family, 3 kids, typical family origins, and things of that nature, so it's.
And what's this?
Did you already say when the next meeting was?
It said it was gonna be next month. I didn't have the date.
I'll have to put that in, our Facebook, links, we'll get that to it that way. What's our link there, Kyle?
Omaha UFO Study Group for the
Yeah.
Facebook?
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll be wrapping up here. I just want to give a shout out. We have Dr. Rudy Mitchell here, and he's going to be going on a Bigfoot hunt with Barry, right? Coming up. So I was going to have him speak about, he's already been out there and had some experiences, but yeah, we ran out of time, so we can't really do much of this time. But I've also been out there twice with Barry, and every time I go up there, I have an experience. So the first time we got video, and then of some eye shine in the background. And then on the second time we got thermal imagery. So I wanted to, tell you about that. And I got videos on YouTube of that and stuff too. So it's up on the Omaha reservation. So Barry Webster he has a group called Red Squatch, and they do that kind of stuff. So in the future, after the thing, you can come back and tell us all the experiences. Other than that, our next meeting will be next month, the third week. I don't know if that's 19th. Okay, so it'll be October 19th. And then I just want to do a quick shout out for these, if everybody's read these little one-page summaries of cases that we've had here in Nebraska, I'm just kind of putting together kind of a collection so that people kind of know some of the more interesting cases that we've had around here. Because I think a lot of people never hear about these cases. And there's like physical evidence, there's credible witnesses, there's so much, behind the scenes. And then we've done other cases too. Greg has I think it was in Iowa, the triangle flap. So kind of want to put some more cases together. And Fred's got a few cases, we could do 3 different pages, but the idea is to put every case as much detail as we can on the one page. So it won't be a big detailed book to read, but it'll be summarized so that you can easy to digest and stuff. So that's a project that we're working on. And then, also for our Patreon, I don't know if I can bring that up there. You can just go in Omaha UFO Study Group and do a Patreon. It won't show up on the thing, so I'm not sharing it. But I'm still getting all the Hub Ogden collection on there, and I'm doing audio for each of these. So if you don't want to read the article, you can just listen to me, and I'll go through the whole article. And then on the actual cases, I'm doing these AI art things, so you can actually see, have kind of a reference to what's actually going on in there, other than just the black and white newspaper article. And here they have a sketch that was printed, and then here's the AI. So this one here, they had a being in a silver hood that emanated a silver glow to it. So this is kind of easy to identify. And I might do the same thing, is make these one-page case summaries on some of these newspaper articles.
Put the YouTube of Herb Shermer's case on Facebook, the one on Facebook, or the Facebook YouTube.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's really good. He gave a talk down in Florida, MUFON, about psychological experience. So I'll put that down on the link too.
Okay. Yeah, and if anybody doesn't know, Omaha UFO Study Group on Facebook, we have a group, we have a page, we share these meetings. If anybody's not on the email list, just talk to me, get you on there. And then on your way out, if you want, there's cinnamon rolls, you can grab them. And then I have a lineup of books. If anybody wants to take a book, just grab it, come to me, and I'll just take a picture of it so I know what book you took. So, all right, other than that, I think that'll be the end of the meeting here. I know people got to go. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you, guys.
And have a good weekend.